Gaining audience feedback on our productions enabled us to identify the areas that we needed to improve and change, and allowed us to directly gain critique on our text from both our primary and secondary audiences. The feedback we received was varied, as each individual that we approached gave us different ideas and views, and so we had to balance the improvements and combine this feedback to produce effective texts. When creating our products, we had two target audiences in mind. Our primary audience is female 13 to 18-year-olds, as pop music is commonly listened to and purchased by people in this age range. This age range also covers the fans who listened to Atomic Kitten before they split in 2004, and so the exclusive new tracks included in our digipack and advertised on our magazine ads will attract this audience. This means that this target audience is appropriate for our genre and for Atomic Kitten, as their recent reunion will attract more old and new fans to viewing our products. We decided upon three secondary audiences. The first audience is the 8 to 12-year-old tween audience. We chose this age range as we felt that they are reasonably reflected in our video through the innocent romantic narrative conveyed throughout, and also because they are the same age that the primary audience would have been when Atomic Kitten were popular in the 90s, and so we can predict that the group will still appeal to people of these ages. Another secondary audience is 19 to 24 plus females. This is because after we researched past Atomic Kitten's public appearances, we discovered that they have appeared on shows such as Loose Women, and Kerry Katona herself spent a brief time actually presenting this show, meaning this audience will also be familiar with the group and perhaps some of their material. Because this audience is predominantly white middle-class and middle-aged women, we felt that we needed to take them into account as our secondary audience, rather than our target audience, as it would not be totally appropriate. Finally, our third secondary audience is males. We have targeted this audience as it is important that we appeal to and promote our work to a mass market, and so we applied aspects of Laura Mulvey's male gaze theory to attract this male demographic. Atomic Kitten also applied this theory to their videos through the use of objectification to widen their audience and increase their viewings and purchases. Atomic Kitten and other pop artists in general tend to target mostly female teenage audiences and commonly promote their music in radio or TV interviews. To attract their secondary audiences, for example the male audience, female pop artists will usually appear in magazines such as FHM and Nuts. Atomic Kitten, however, did not appear to promote their work through these magazines, except a couple of mag ads of the members seen in FHM. They attracted this audience more through the use of objectification in their videos, as their main focus of promotion was on their young target audience, and so their reputation needed to stay innocent and clean. To get audience feedback, we mostly showed our text to the individual or group, and then filmed their reaction and feedback. We took great advantage of this and asked them questions regarding these texts, for example whether certain shots in the video worked effectively or not. By recording them, we can also pick up on points that we may have missed at the time, and so it is useful for us to video them for this particular reason. Some people preferred not to be videoed, so we simply recorded their voices instead, which practically provided us with the same opportunities that we would have had if we were videoing. The only possible limitation with just having audio is that we may forget which age category they fall into when it comes to editing the clip and reanalyzing it. For constant feedback, we were able to ask our media class. This was extremely helpful as they are all within our primary target audience age range, yet they are all males, and so this allowed us to easily see if our text appealed to a mass market and our final secondary audience. Because they required feedback themselves, they understood some of the more technological questions that we asked, and were able to give us more specific and detailed feedback in regards to things like effects and tools used in softwares. Fan forums and websites also provided another way of receiving audience feedback, on top of gaining extra research about our artist, genre and audience. We could easily display our rough cuts and sample videos for fans to comment back on, and because the fan forums are specific to the group and the genre, we knew that the feedback would be genuine and constructive. We didn't get as many responses as we had hoped when uploading these videos, and so we advertised our products on social networking sites too, especially Twitter. The Web 2.0 theory can be argued to reflect the ways in which we gathered our audience feedback. Social networking sites all have comment sections, making it easier to gain instant and direct feedback from other web users, and we can reply to these comments to create a sense of a relationship between the audience and ourselves. The user-generated web, as stated by the theory, is the main concept that can be applied to our audience feedback, as using the internet has allowed us to collaborate on ideas with our target audiences, which has proved to be extremely useful. Audience feedback proved to be the most important factor in realising that our original idea was not effective as we first hoped it would turn out to be. We gained feedback from people included in all of our target audiences, and so came to the realisation that we needed to make a major change if we wanted our video and ancillary text to be successful. There were a whole range of things which all contributed to the poor outcome, in particular the locations and the cast which were used. It was said that these locations were not effective enough in conveying the famous and urban theme that we wanted, and that the cast were not believable when performing on screen. We reshot a lot of footage and took on board all of the feedback we received to try and improve the video. However, we soon began to realise that it was not working and that nothing we could do would improve the video to the standard that we wanted. Because of this, we drafted an entirely new idea to a completely different song. However, we made sure we did not stray outside of the pop genre. Because the Pussycat Dolls were an all-American dance group and took on the male gaze theory concept to an extreme, it was difficult for us to create a video surrounded by more conservative British influences, and so we decided upon the British group Atomic Kitten. Atomic Kitten seemed like an appropriate choice, as they have also recently reunited in 2012 after a split in 2004, meaning that our products could be linked into this reunion as comeback material. When we pitched our new idea, we had the opportunity to gain feedback on this idea and to ask questions about how to develop and expand the idea to make it work effectively. In response to our questions, they provided us with thorough and detailed ideas for the narrative and particularly locations for the performance side of the video. We also had the advantage of pitching the new idea to a member of our 19 to 24 plus secondary audience, which meant we could get an extra perspective on the idea and we could hear what they thought, so that their views could also be considered. One of the most frequently occurring positive comments that we received was in relation to the common boy band convention that we conveyed through the use of laughter images and footage. We used these images and footage as we felt it invited the audience to viewing our products, and the more relaxed vibe appealed more to the younger audience. These images worked well effectively in the sense that we were able to use them across all three texts, and they promoted our products in a good light. Negative feedback proved to be the most useful form of feedback. We showed our rough cuts to our audiences and they tended to pick up more on bad aspects rather than the good aspects, which in fact was a great help, as this meant that we could easily depict the areas pointed out and improve them to our best abilities. Most of the negative feedback was related to shaky shots and long takes, which obviously needed correcting straight away. It can be difficult when editing to focus on everything in the shot at once, and so it can be fairly easy to miss a slight camera movement. By having the audiences pick up on these movements, we were able to improve our video so that it was more professional. To make sure that we improved every shaky shot, we thoroughly analysed each shot and noted down an unwanted camera movement that we saw. Once we had replaced or split these shots up using shot reverse shot, we then began to add more effects and continue with the rest of the editing. Because this was the most obvious problem, once we had corrected the shots, the video looked much more professional and fresh. Another common point that was brought up was the style of the editing and the cutting to the beat. We tried to cut to the beat as much as possible, yet some people did say that it was slightly off and pointed out more opportunities to do this, and so we also made sure that we took this feedback on board. Here are some examples of the audience feedback that we received.
I think the costumes are really fitting with the whole persona of the girl band, which is not so promiscuous, but it's more like your average girl band, and they're quite fitting and quite suited towards the story. Yep. Thought the narrative was really good because it was easy to follow and see what was going on, and the whole black and white for the narrative was really nice.
Would you think that the video ending with the girl band or the narrative would look more effective?
I think with the girl band it looks more effective because it kind of like sums up that maybe really effective at the end when the girl band work off rather than the black and white of the narrative.
Really liked the layering and it was believable. Looked quite preppy, like pop star. And the ending was really, really good for a video. Like that's the kind of thing they'd use in an actual pop video.
Talk about the costumes used actually fitted the conventions really well, and like the amount of times they changed into different outfits was believable because that's what they usually do in pop videos.
The black and white bits were good to split up between the pop bit where they're miming and the story, and also black and white was good to kind of because it's obviously sad, so it's like pathetic fallacy type thing. Yeah.
Do you think that the music video fits with a 12 to 24 age range?
24?
Yeah. Just a
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Is that it? Can I stop now? Yeah.
Oh, right. Guys, she's filming.
Okay, so what did you think of the ending? The ending and stuff?
The bit with the fire. Yeah, the fire is good.
I liked the effects of the fire.
However,
Between colour and black and white.
I don't really know whether she'd actually look on his phone. I don't know whether. Do you look on your phone? I suppose it's the point of the video. I like the black and white.
Good stuff.
Yeah, the black and white was really good when it was like just telling the story, and then colour for the singers.
A specific example of how we utilised our audience feedback was when we were unsure about how to end the video. We created a vodcast displaying our 2 possible endings and then showed this to our target audience to find out which one they thought worked best. The majority of our audience said that they prefer the ending with the girl group layered onto the fire, and so we used this ending in our final video.